Hello, hello, hello. Welcome one, welcome all. I am Jason Gutierrez, and this is the fourth episode of Inconsistency? I'm not sure, but either way, this is Inconsistency. The show to try to make us all think a little bit more straightforward in our lives. So right off the top, I actually have some very unfortunate news. And this is actually really close to home. 1 second, and bow. So apparently, Aurora shooting updates. 5 dead, 5 cops wounded in attack at Illinois manufacturing firm. Suspect killed in shootout with police. Well, some good news in this thing. 5 people died in a shooting at a manufacturing firm Friday afternoon, and 5 officers were struck by gunfire. Officials said Friday, being today. Authorities confirmed the shooter, Mr. Gary Martin, was killed in a shootout with police. Police believe he was an employee at Henry Pratt Co. in the industrial park in the Chicago suburb, and said they did not know the motive. Okay, so this is obviously very fresh. This obviously just happened, and I would like to first off, I guess I should say, rest in peace to everyone. I feel very sorry for the families. This is such an unfortunate event, and I wish it was far more rare than it seems to be nowadays. It won't be long until we see, especially in Illinois, we see the gun control activists come out and make statements about this, and this is very unfortunate. So the sides are going to get politicized immediately. We're going to have the pro-gun people saying that don't blame the gun, and then we're going to have the anti-gun people saying blame the gun. And we're not really going to take very much time to mourn the losses of life or the families, and this is it's just a very sad situation. It sucks to start off with something so dark. But yeah, so this has just happened. We don't know everything. I guess more information will develop, and I suppose I will have to give an update next week, and I will keep an eye out on this, and I will be sure to report whatever I see, and I can give my take on that then. But just, not even the story is still going on, and I feel like it's very silly of people to, I don't want to be caught just like the news, and the thing that I hate the most about the news, which is when they open their mouths, make statements, and make claims, and they have no idea what happened, and they just jump the gun based on the initial reports. And then in a week, 2 weeks to a month, you end up looking foolish. Like I said, my thoughts go out to the family. I know thoughts and prayers seem cheap, but that's all I can give from where I'm at. Yeah, I'll keep everyone abreast on the situation, and hopefully we can all find a way to keep ourselves. Hopefully we can find a way to make this more rare. I guess the only good thing is it didn't happen to a school. But on to other things in the news. Another Chicago story, another Illinois story. And this relates more to what I was saying about the news jumping to conclusions, and then things come out that disprove them later. This is actually a story that I was talking about 2 weeks ago, I believe. No, maybe 3 weeks ago. It is the Jussie Smollett case. So we all remember Jussie Smollett, the actor from Empire, the openly gay black man. He claimed that he was attacked in Chicago during the polar vortex when it was -20 outside. He claimed that he was attacked by 2 white males who were Trump supporters yelling MAGA at him. And they poured bleach on him and tried to put a noose around his neck. Well, seems like the walls are caving in on this story that was pretty obviously false. Just clearly false from the start. And it seems like the walls are closing in for Mr. Smollett, and the truth is coming out. Unfortunately, the news already ran with the statement of lynchings being popular, And they've already put this out there that people are racist. But let's see what the update is now that the police have actually gone out and investigated. 2 potential Jussie Smollett incident suspects arrested. Yep, that's poor spelling there. Police investigating if attack staged, sources say. So now they're checking to see if the attack was staged. Chicago police confirmed Friday that detectives are talking to 2 possible suspects in connection with the alleged attack on Empire actor Jussie Smollett. On Friday morning, Chicago police spokesman Anthony Gugliang, I'm sorry, sir, said they are talking to 2 men they identify as potential suspects and that police have probable cause they may have been involved in a crime. Police said the 2 men are under arrest and that they have a relationship with Smollett. Okay, so very quickly, I actually have a picture of the fellas, and you tell me if these look like the Trump-supporting MAGA country racists that we were told that they were. This is them. So, doesn't look much like MAGA people. That doesn't look like MAGA country to me at all. At least not the MAGA country that it's proposed to be. I thought MAGA country was white. I thought MAGA country was smug white men with red hats in front of Native American men. But this looks like some pretty swole buff dudes. Look more like something out of the cast of Black Panther, but that's neither here nor there. Seems like your story's getting some holes in it. I mean, you know, maybe while he was being attacked, he missaw and thought that these were white men and heard that all these things happened. Multiple sources told ABC Eyewitness News in Chicago that police are investigating whether Smollett and the 2 men staged the attack allegedly because Smollett was being written off of Empire. Wow, I didn't even think of that. A source familiar with the investigation told the ABC I7 team that Smollett failed to appear for an interview with detectives earlier Thursday, but has since spoken with police. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson contracted ABC 7 to say they are continuing, to treat Smollett as a victim and the investigation remains ongoing. Quote, police are investigating whether the 2 individuals committed the attack or whether the attack happened at all, Chicago police told ABC News. Smollett released a statement Thursday evening saying, today, Jussie did answer routine follow-up questions for Chicago Police Department and continues to cooperate. Smollett's representative said he is not being written off of Empire. Fox released a statement saying the idea that he has been or would be written off of Empire is patently ridiculous. He remains a core player on this very successful series, and we continue to stand behind him. A source briefed on the Smollett investigation confirmed to ABC News that Chicago police are questioning the 2 men, one of whom has appeared on Empire. Okay. Now we have an issue. Now we have something that's very suspicious. Now, this could be, he could have been genuinely attacked. This could have been someone who worked on the show with Jussie and for some reason did not like him and had a beef with him. From the very beginning, it seemed like the attack, if the attack happened the way Jussie said, of course, you know, ignoring the whole white people MAGA hat rope thing, it would seem to make sense because the way that Jussie said the attack went would make more sense if there were people that knew him, knew where he was, or something. Because it's just so random for just somebody, for 2 people to come up and attack someone in negative 20 degrees in Chicago. It just seems like it's not the MO. People get robbed all the time, but just to randomly attack someone. And Jussie, which I think, I was, at first I thought that this was just his ego in his fake story, but I'm working on the premise that this actually happened, just for the sake of argument. He said that they recognized him as that, quote, gay man, not gay man, you know, F word for gay man, from Empire. And that would make sense, that someone recognized him. And if you worked on the show, I'm sure you would recognize him. But now, going off of that hypothetical, or, you know, trying to put some logic into this. That doesn't make sense. The fact that this is an actor who attacked you, somebody who has been on the show, why would he attack you? Did you have any beef? Like, if he's the person that attacked you, then you should probably come out and say if you had a history of disliking each other, or if there was some type of conflict between the two of you. And it doesn't bode well for you if you have an actor attacking you, because obviously actors want to work, and assaulting your co-stars is a bad way to do it. And also, if you're going to stage an attack, well, an actor's a pretty good way to go about it. Especially those buff dudes. They look like they'd attack someone, huh? The law enforcement officials have also told ABC News that the homes of the men were raided Wednesday night. Police removed shoes, electronic devices, and other items they believe could help them determine if the two people played any role in the assault. Neighbors described the swarm of police officers. Let's see. Neighbors said they believe the men are Nigerian brothers who grew up in that apartment and have lived there for years. Neighbors described them as friendly and possibly bodybuilders. You think? You think they were a bit swole? And said they have long wanted to be actors. Chicago police said they cannot confirm any of those reports. No charges have been filed. Police initially said two persons of interest are not suspects and have not been charged. The two were picked up Wednesday night at O'Hare International Airport. A lawyer who said she's representing the two persons of interest declined to comment on the case as she left the area Central Police Headquarters. Chicago police told ABC News they were tracking the two persons of interest and were aware who they were for a while. Chicago police told ABC News they are both cooperating and have been questioned all day. Smollett said he was attacked around 2 a.m. on January 29th in the 300 block of East North Water Street in Chicago's Streetville neighborhood. He told police two masked men shouted homophobic slurs at him, attacked him, put a rope around his neck, and poured a liquid on him that smelled like bleach. Okay, really quick, ABC, you're missing a very big, crucial part of this story that was initially reported, and that is the MAGA hat wearing white men. That is blatantly false. Confirmedly, that is confirmed to be false. Why aren't you mentioning it? Why aren't you mentioning that he lied? And why aren't you guys apologizing for running with the narrative that two Trump supporters yelled MAGA country at this man and put a noose around his neck? I guess the rope's not, the rope is still, I guess, in question, but it seems like a funny way for two Nigerian men to attack you. And on Thursday night, police said phone records provided by Smollett do show he was on the phone with his manager at the time of the attack. Both men told investigators Smollett's attackers yelled slurs. Smollett, 36, is black and openly gay. And then this is his statement. Let's see if they mention anything about the white. They released grainy. All right. So this is his statement. This is what he says on it. Let's see if this thing will go quickly.
I'm pissed off.
What is it that has you so angry? Is it the attackers?
It's the attackers, but it's also the attacks. It's like, you know, at first it was a thing of like, listen, if I tell the truth, then that's it, because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Then it became a thing of like, oh.
Okay, if you tell the truth, that's a big if apparently, because you haven't told the truth. I would be willing to give you the benefit of the doubt if it seemed simply a case of, you know, you're a victim and victims are often the worst witnesses to anything. That I would give you. That I would be like, okay, well, he made a mistake. But when the mistake is as blatant as, oh, these were white men when they're Nigerian bodybuilders, that just seems a bit ridiculous there, Jussie. That seems like you did this on purpose.
How can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth.
How do I doubt it? You said a ridiculous story. Your story was that two Trump-supporting MAGA people attacked you, recognized you, poured bleach on you, and put a noose around your neck on a day where it was -20 in Chicago. Doesn't happen. Never. It doesn't happen. I doubt you would be able to find one case of a lynching that fits half of those criteria. Or lynching, I'm sorry. You won't be able to find an incident in Chicago or an incident that fits half of those criteria, including in Chicago, 2 white men, MAGA country. None of these things make sense. And then the height of hubris and the height of your story, it really does seem like you're fabricating this story for your own gain and your own ego when you even go so far as to say, not only did these men go out to attack a black man, they recognized you from Empire. MAGA people don't know Empire. You're not that well known, Jussie, especially when you're wrapped up in a coat on a winter day. Why would you be recognized? Your story has so many holes in it, it's hard to believe you, even in the best of circumstances.
Truth. And then it became a thing of like, oh, it's not necessarily that you don't believe that this is the truth. You don't even want to see.
Nope, not at all. I 100% do not believe it.
The truth.
What happened that night, Jussie?
When I landed in Chicago, and Frank Gatson, who's like my uncle, and he's also my creative director, and he picked me up. And then we got back to the apartment. There was no food. And so I went out to Walgreens thinking that they were 24 hours and to have a smoke. Walgreens was closed. So I called him up and I said, hey, I'm gonna run to Subway, which was across the street, and I'm gonna get a salad. Do you want anything? I went to the Subway and got the order. During that time, I texted my manager thinking that he was still in Australia because he was on an Australian tour with one of his other clients. And I said, yo, call me.
This guy wears a lot of pins.
He called me immediately. And while he was on the phone, I heard, as I was crossing the intersection, I heard Empire.
From across. Jussie, it was -20 outside. Are you not wearing any coat? Nobody recognized. It was 2 a.m. They recognized you from Empire. How could this possibly be true? Your story's ridiculous. I don't want to listen to this whole thing, but maybe I will. I didn't plan on it for a second, but goodness.
And I don't answer to Empire. My name ain't Empire. And I didn't answer. I kept walking, and then I heard Empire. So I turned around and I said, did you just say?
Okay, so they know you. Not only do they know you from Empire, well, I guess your character on the show is gay. So I suppose if they did recognize you from Empire, which I still doubt, it would make sense for them to call you that.
To me, and I see the attacker masked, and he said, this MAGA country punches me right in the face. So I punched his ass back. And then...
Wow, those strong words from Nigerian men. So they were masked. Were they also wearing gloves? Because if they were all the way masked, I suppose I could go with you and say, maybe you didn't see their faces, but you claimed they were white. When you claim they were white, and that implies that you saw something. Did you see blue eyes? I didn't see blue eyes on those men that were arrested.
We started tussling. You know, it was very icy. And we ended up tussling by the stairs. Fighting. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back. And then it just stopped. And they ran off. And I saw where they ran. And the phone was in my pocket, but it had fallen out. And it was sitting there. And my manager was still on the phone. So I picked up the phone and I said, Brandon. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, I was just jumped. And then I looked down and I see that there's a rope around my neck, which I hadn't.
You hadn't noticed it before?
No,
you didn't
because
see?
It was so fast.
What? Wait a second. Come on, Jussie. You're telling me somebody can put a rope over your head? Or what? They just had a loose rope and they swung it over your head? Because that's not a noose. If that's the case, it's a little more plausible. Not very. It's a little more plausible. But that's not a lynching. Or, if it was a noose, you're telling me you didn't notice someone putting a noose over your head? You got to do better writing there, pimp. I'm sorry, man. And then you're mad at us for not believing you. If this really happened to me, I would be like, look, guys, you have to at least acknowledge that it's ridiculous. You have to be like, look, I understand how this sounds. I get it. I'd understand if you don't believe me, but this is the truth, and I have nothing else to tell you. If you went out about it like that, I could look at you and be like, all right, maybe he's telling the truth. I can give you more of the benefit of the doubt. But when you go out and you're angry at people for not believing you, and your story is, oh, I just looked down and there's a noose on my neck. I mean, come on, man. How much suspension of disbelief do you want to have? I understand that you work in Hollywood and we suspend our disbelief for that, but this is real life, sir. It's not how real life works.
You know what I'm saying? It was so fast.
How long did this all
It felt
take?
like minutes, but it probably was like 30 seconds, honestly. I can't tell you honestly. I noticed the rope around my neck and I started screaming. And I said, there's a rope around my neck.
Did you get any kind of description of the attacker?
I gave a body description, and I, because I saw this, but
Yeah, you said white, and I didn't know they don't. Well, black people don't have whites around their eyes. Or let me retract that statement a bit and clear that up. Yeah, black people's eyebrows are like around their eyes. I don't know why I can't. Black people's orbital regions don't look like white men's orbital regions. Yeah, there you go. Put some science in this piece.
Right here or whatever, but I didn't see, I can't tell you what
You're telling me the bridge of their nose was white?
color their eyes were. I can't tell you. And I did not see anything except
He said he saw a Nazi.
the second person I saw running away. And the first person, yeah, I saw his stature. I gave the description as best as I could. You have to understand also that it's Chicago in winter.
Uh-huh.
People can wear ski masks and nobody's going to question that.
Uh-huh.
The police have gone through.
That's exactly what we were saying. And it's exactly why we said your story was ridiculous. Let me see if I can pull up really quickly. Let me see. Oh, just for fun. Let's see these men again. This was the men that I'm going to see if I can find the initial report, but these are the men that have been arrested. So as of right now, these are the persons of interest. These are the only suspects, or I don't know, did they say they were suspects? These are the only persons of interest, only people being looked at. This is all we got going for us, right? Well, this is all we got going for us right now. This is all we got going for us right now. That. For the cameras, guys, difficult to work with. Okay, let me see. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to see, if I can find. Geez, I can't spell. Glad I. Oh nope, you can see this, huh? White MAGA hat. Let me see if I can find. Yeah. Okay. Wait, I just want to see. Oh, now he's saying he never said that. Oh boy, hold on. Let me see if I can find. Because I need this to be from Bow. Or, I'm sorry. This needs to be from the 27th to the 1st, which is before anyone was arrested. Boom, right here. I love it. The attack on Jussie Smollett is more proof that MAGA is a racist slogan. This was from January 30th. So before any of this came out, before any of these arrests, let me see if, all right, let me move that. All right. Jeez, these guys are really pushing that. A little over a week ago, Alyssa Milano, Jeez, these guys are obtrusive. Jeez, can you guys give me to... After Trump got elected, disgraced rapper Kanye, additionally last year, man. All right, that article was a nothing burger. Smollett attacked impossible. This is... All right, here's deadline. Chicago PD, law enforcement, BBDD. Okay, well, we can look back into it. I can probably do some more checking around. I'll do a little more digging right now. In the initial report, oh, this is from Reason. Oh, look at that. Yeah, Reason. Shout out to Reason. Shout out to libertarianism. According to the victims, were concealed. We have no record indicated. They're shouting only record of him. Here we go. This is where it says, oh, this is where he was beaten, and this, that's his beating. This man, all right. Chicago PD confirms TMZ told them in a follow-up interview. Sources connected tell Jussie. All right. Empire Star was brutally attacked by two men who beat him up, put his head in a noose, and screamed, "This is MAGA country. Aren't you that F-it enter?" From Empire, the two men, here we go. This is what I was looking for. The two men, both white and wearing ski masks, viciously attacked Jussie as he fought back, but they beat him badly and fractured a rib. They put a rope around his neck, poured bleach on him, and as they left, they yelled, "This is MAGA country." All right, so there we have it, folks. I've already gotten rid of that picture, but very clearly we saw those two men were not white men or white MAGA country men. And this is still developing, and I look forward so much to seeing what comes out of this. But it really seems like you're a liar. Now, the issue of Jussie Smollett trying to use this for his own gain is one thing. Whatever. You wanna pretend that you were a victim of racial injustice to try to put your name out in the news. You've done that. You've successfully done that. That's whatever. The problem I have is when the news goes out and puts out the statement and puts out the narrative that Chicago, of all places, is a Trump-supporting, racist MAGA. And I don't even believe the narrative that Trump's racist or that Trump supporters, for certain Trump supporters, are racist. I won't subscribe to that at all. Just because you wear a MAGA hat doesn't make you racist. But the fact that they're willing to run with that narrative, and they were willing to say, like, oh, this is proof that lynching symbolism is still a thing, and this is another hate crime, and hate crimes are on the rise, and it's like, well, maybe we should let a little bit of truth come out before we go out and say that people are attacking Jussie for being black, and that people are lynched. Maybe the news should have some type of responsibility for doing that, because it's not good for people's psyche to believe they live in a town where they might be lynched walking to Subway or walking to Walgreens. I really hope that that the truth comes out. I'm sure it will. The police are doing their dewest of diligence to find out what happened. And I do also hope, I'm generally not a person to just say lock them up, but if it comes out that Jussie did this all for his own personal gain or for whatever narcissism of his, if he came out and he just fabricated this whole thing and he staged this whole story, I hope he's prosecuted, and I hope they throw the full book at him, because that's not acceptable. This is not acceptable at all. And you should be punished for this. I have nothing else to say. I will absolutely keep my eyes on this story, because it keeps developing and changing all over the time. Just earlier today, I was seeing a story. They were saying that that his boyfriend beat him. So there's this. The waters are still muddy, but the initial story of two white men yelling at him, two white men attacking him, seems to be completely out the window. And even he seems to be backpedaling from that completely. On to a little bit of political news. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, everybody's favorite young congresswoman. She proposed a, I can just put AOC to get that quicker. AOC, I like that she has a nickname. AOC is powerful, man. She is going to be, yeah, that's our favorite. That's our favorite progressive. Well, that's actually spoiling something from an early story, but here we go. This woman, our favorite, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Very recently, I think this came out February 1st or so. I don't have the proposal with me. I read through it, kind of skimmed through it. You can check it out on her own website. I think it's alexandria-cortez.gov. You can just type in Green New Deal Alexandria Cortez in Google, and it should pop up, and you can see the PDF file. So she proposed this grandiose Green New Deal to combat climate change, which is, I believe, I'm not going to say it's untrue. I'm not going to say it's false. I believe it's blown out of proportion, and I also believe that this is the new religion of, I'm going to say the left, just to make it simpler, but it's not necessarily just the left. The same as I would call statism a religion. I believe people worship the state. I believe people are worshipping environmentalism. Sounds like it's a funny way to word a sentence. But when I say that this whole climate change thing is a religion, it doesn't take much to find out what I'm saying. Just go up to somebody who's really into this environmentalism thing and just say, oh yeah, global warming is fake, and they'll call you a climate change denier. Climate change denier sounds very much like heretic in my book. Sounds very much like blasphemer, and they have that very same emotional response, which I guess isn't a problem. It's not a problem in itself for you to be an environmentalist. The problem is when you do things like when you propose things like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal, which included just so many ridiculous things. Okay. So you can see, I had these pages looked up, but it's honestly, it's 14 pages. It's all in lines. You can skim through it pretty quickly if you want to see it. But some of my favorite highlights. She says within 10 years, she wants to achieve net zero greenhouse gases. That's her proposal. That's her goal. In 10 years. So in her own, given her own numbers, she said that America is responsible for 20% of the greenhouse gases in the world. So we are going to go from 20% of greenhouse gases to zero in 10 years, in a decade. So right now, by the time she's 38, before she's 40, because I think she's like 28 or 30 or something. So she wants, or definitely by the time she's 50, she wants all greenhouse gases eliminated or net zero. So I suppose we get to erase carbon taxes. And I mean, it's just so ridiculous for you to say this. But the problem becomes when she proposes things like in the bill is she calls for no more cars. She wants to get rid of all fossil fuel burning cars because they burn emissions. She wants to get rid of all airplanes because airplanes don't work off of renewable energy. She says that flight for international travel is fine, but any domestic travel has to be by train. She wants to get rid of all cars that aren't electric. She wants to get rid of planes. She wants everybody to get around in trains. And this is what politicians, I believe, especially when they're city slickers like her, she's a New York woman, we have a real problem with, and I think this was really shown. Okay, my apologies for that. I wish it was technical difficulties. I had something I had to get to. Okay, getting back to it. So she wants to make it so that everyone has to travel by train all the time. This goes to show you, oh, that's where I was. Okay. So this is the problem, and this is the disconnect between the two cultures of America. I believe that you have basically the Midwest, or maybe we can just do a rural city. The suburbs I would put into the city area, but you know, there are some that would fit more of a rural setting. But somebody like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, who has grown up in New York, knows nothing but New York, can say something like, "Oh, we'll just get around in trains," because that works in New York. If you live in Chicago proper, you have no reason to own a car. You don't. You can do everything you need to quite easily by riding the bus, taking the train, riding a bike, and you can live your life very decently. But it doesn't take much. You just have to do a little bit of trying to be empathetic and a little bit of looking at things through other people's eyes, which nobody wants to look through a racist eyes, which is how they view the middle of the country when you're one of these city people, one of these either LA, New York, Chicago, San Francisco. When you're one of these big city kids, you only see the world through those eyes. Go to Wisconsin right now. Go to Kentucky. You're in the middle of Kentucky. You think you're going to ride a train anywhere? It's not possible. They don't ride over there. She's saying, "Well, we're gonna make more trains, and we're gonna build a better rail system." It's like, yeah, how are you gonna build them to everywhere? You know how expensive that'd be? You're gonna just cover the entire all of America's fields in train tracks? It's impossible. It's not improbable. It's not implausible. It's not difficult. It's impossible to build enough trains to service all of the citizens in America. There are places in the United States that if they run out of power, the police can't get there for days. Like if they're snowed in, the police can't get there for days. They just have to wait it out. These are people these people have these grandiose ideas of, we're going to save the earth. We're gonna save the earth from greenhouse gases, and we're gonna give everyone free healthcare, and we're gonna give everyone all of these things, and we're gonna build these great things, and we're gonna have all these solar panels. And it's like, stop living in your LA bubble, stop living in your New York bubble. Take 1 second, just 1 second out of your life to look at how other people live, and you'll be like, oh, you know what? Actually, that's impossible. And the sad thing is, she's proposing, I guess her counter to me would be like, excuse me, her counter would be, oh, well, we're going to have electric cars. Okay. Well, do you know who can't afford electric cars? Poor people. Poor people can't buy new cars like that. Even in the best of cases, the new cars that we have as of right now, which would be Teslas, they're backlogged for years. The cheapest one is going to cost you $30,000 used. And it's diminishing returns because not only is it going to cost you $30,000 to get, you have to install a supercharger. They don't have them everywhere. And again, you know where they probably don't have a lot of superchargers for you to use? In poor areas. If you're in New York, I'm positive you can find a charging station that'll charge your Tesla in 30 minutes. And if that's the life you can live, that's awesome. That's beautiful. If you can live a life like that, if you're in LA, you can have solar panels in the house where it's, it never rained. It's always sunny in LA. Beautiful. Have your solar powered roof. Drive your car on solar energy. That's amazing. That's beautiful. But to people that live in somewhere like Chicago, just imagine in Chicago where they had those negative 20-degree days. How do you live without fossil fuels in that situation? How do you live without burning gas? It's impossible. What happens? Your power goes out. You better hope you have some natural gas heat coming in, or you're freezing to death. Or you're just going to have to live in just shambles and huts, and you're all going to have to huddle together by what? I don't know. You can't burn wood. You can't have a fireplace. Fire is actually worse for the environment than just natural gas. What are you going to have? And speaking of these houses, she is actually proposing in this very same bill to upgrade all existing buildings in the United States to be green and renewable energy and all of that. All buildings in the United States. You ever counted how many buildings there are in the United States? Probably a lot of them. Now, let's take an average. Let's just lowball it. How much does it cost to make a building? $1,000? Nope. It's gonna be, let's just say, $100,000. Meanwhile, there's million, trillion, billion. Well, I won't say trillion. There's definitely million and $100 million high rises and just expensive properties that are older, that are 100 years old. What happens with those? You're just gonna we're just gonna upgrade them. We're gonna make them green. It's so just shoot for the moon, no reason, so crazy. But she can just say this, and the problem isn't even that she's saying it. I mean, it kind of is, because she's a congresswoman, so she's not some loon. She's actually in a position of power. Problem is people like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, all the Democrats that are 2020 hopefuls for the presidency seem to be behind this with her. And also, of course, in her bill, because she can't help herself, she had to put in all her SJW things where she's like, well, we also need to fix racism, and we need to help indigenous people, we need healthcare for all, and we need to, she actually had, and this was actually a point of contention, they had in her original bill, it was somewhere on the website where they were saying they were going to give a wage for all, so a UBI, universal basic income. She wanted to give money for all, or a job for everyone. She's trying to guarantee that. Yeah, she's guaranteeing a job. That's actually on page 12. She wants to give you a guaranteed job with a family sustaining wage. These are all just promises that she's making. She's guaranteeing everyone a job. You want a job? You've got a job. Just impossible. I don't even understand how you can kind of think you can do this. I don't even. Well, I mean, it's just amazing how hyperbolic she really didn't even go. She didn't even do. You know, she doesn't want baby steps. Nope. 10 years, 0%. We want to go 0 to 60 in 10 years. And then so healthcare and housing for all. And it's really funny. So just to touch on it, just to touch on the bill itself, or the proposal itself. She actually goes in and she's like, well, we just need a big push, just like we had during World War II in America. And she says that as though that was a good time for people to live in America. They've been using World War II more and more lately as an example of like, oh, well, yeah, during World War II, we had significantly higher tax rates than now. And they always use World War II as their example of like, well, you say make America great again. Look at America during like around World War II. America was a terrible place to live in during World War II. I mean, anybody can pick up a book and tell you we were rationing rubber. We were rationing gas and food. I, for one, don't want to live in a world where I have to live off of rations. I'm not going to be in bread lines and buying war bonds. Also, let's not forget, all of the men were at war. The men were dying by the thousands. Okay? To the point where the women had to work. I know women like to work now, women work now by choice. But your example of like, oh, well, we can do this and it'll be great, is World War II, when people didn't have, like, People would get rations of rubber. People were literally not riding their bikes so that they could have enough rubber for the tanks, and all of that was made for war. Every resource was made for war, and she wants to basically, I don't think it's a stretch for me to say, basically she's saying she wants us all to ration everything. She wants us all to live under the conditions of the average citizen of World War II for her dream, for her vision of 0% of zero greenhouse gas emissions, or net zero is the quote in the statement. You understand that even if America got to 0% greenhouse gas emissions, it still would mean that 80% of the emissions going into the world are still the same. And she acknowledges this. She says, well, America needs to be a leader in this. Okay. So we're going to bankrupt and impoverish America to be a theoretical leader in this, when meanwhile, what's going to stop? You think that if America is living this way, that everybody's just going to follow suit? You think Russia's just going to be like, yep, we're going to do that too? China's going to be like, yep, we're going to jump into that too. Yeah, we're not enjoying this significant rise in living standards and significant amount of wealth that we've been developing over these past couple decades. Now, you know what? We're going to take that and we're going to squander it all, just like you guys did in America. It is, I implore anyone listening to this, just go out there and read it. And read it. Don't look at it with the religious eyes of like, this is what we need to do. Because that's why I say, when it's a religion when you don't want to take any logic into account. Want to be as impractical as possible. Look at it with just a hint of, try to look at it through the eyes of, the people most affected by this are always poor people. And try to see things through the eyes of like, okay, can this possibly have unforeseen circumstances? And it's not even unforeseen circumstances. It's foreseen, yelled at you, clearly told to you, repeated to you, consequences that are foreseeable as if a stone hits the water, it's going to cause waves. It's impossible for these things not to happen. It's impossible for this not to affect people's lives. Also, really quickly, she wants to impose a carbon tax. So that, at the end of the day, is probably the only thing that's achievable in this bill. And it's absolutely awful. A carbon tax is almost literally a life tax. It's effectively an energy tax, but just the wording of it, first of all, it sounds crazy, obviously, but every time we exhale carbon dioxide, if you ask a scientist what we are, there's a few answers, obviously, Homo sapien and human and all that. But you would absolutely be correct in saying we are carbon-based life forms. So the idea that someone in the government has the gall to say we are going to tax carbon, you're taxing life itself. And you didn't even create it. That's the thing. I believe all taxation is theft. And this is literally just taxing energy, taxing something that, if you believe in God, they're taxing something that God created. And it's bonkers. I'll wrap it there. That's probably the only thing that she'd be able to pass in that is this whole carbon, is the carbon tax. And they would obviously say this is the first step, and then they would move forward to do the rest of their things. But I know I said I was wrapping it up, but I actually wanted to just pivot into this. So Mitch McConnell saw this ridiculousness of a proposal, and he decided that he is really going to jump on this, and he's going to try to get everyone on record that he can. And I actually love this. Mitch McConnell is going to force the Senate to vote on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Tuesday that the Senate would vote on the Green New Deal introduced by Senator Edward Markey, Democrat of Mass, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat from New York, last week. The proposal, which is not expected to pass the GOP-dominated upper chamber, could force some Democrats to make a politically awkward calculations. That's genius. Just genius. Just put them right in the corner. It's like, okay, you guys want to go and support her? There you go. And they're in a bad spot because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, if you look at anyone, if you check on the news and see Green New Deal, most of it is people saying that, oh, we need to support this. Most of it is just lefties saying, yep, this is the first step. This is what we need to do. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a lot of juice right now in the Democratic Party, man. You thought Bernie had some love in the Democratic Party. You've got another thing coming with this young Puerto Rican woman. Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Tuesday that the Senate would vote on the Green New Deal introduced last week by Alexandria Cortez. I've noted with great interest the Green New Deal, and we're going to be voting on that in the Senate, to give everybody an opportunity to go on record. Brilliant. Just perfect. Oh, it makes me so happy to see this because it's going to be hysterical. When are they voting on this? Yeah, I cannot wait. The proposal is not expected to pass. Let's see. Democratic liberals, including all of the senators currently running for president, have come out in support of, all of them. So literally now, you're voting Democrat. You're voting to bankrupt the country. Which calls for generating 100% of the nation's power from renewable. See, I wasn't exaggerating. That's what she said. 100% of the nation's power from renewable sources within 10 years. 100%. Literally anything you do that involves coal, that involves nuclear power plants, that involves gas. It's like, okay, anybody listening to this, I'm going to go out on a limb and say your car is gas. Can you afford an electric car right now? Do you think you'll be in that spot within 10 years? Tell you what, there's a lot of people who haven't bought a new car in their lives. There's a lot of people who've never bought a car that hasn't been used because they can't afford it. You know who this affects the most? Them. This affects the single mother who's barely got money to feed her family. You know who else? Who else it affects? Truck drivers. What are you gonna do with them? I know Tesla put out an electric car. Do you know how much it costs? Do you know that there's only one of them there's only one of them running right now? Oh, okay. So we're gonna make sure to upgrade all the trucks that deliver all of the products that you use to renewable energy. Do you think that might have an increase in price? Do you think that might affect the availability of certain, and by certain I mean every product in the world? It's impossible that it wouldn't have an effect. Scientists have said dramatic immediate action is necessary to stem catastrophic effects of climate change. Democratic moderates have been less than enthusiastic about the proposal. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi derisively referred to the House version of the resolution as a green dream, while only 11 of the 47 senators who caucus with the Democrats have signed on as sponsors. Tax the rich. Senator Sherrod Brown, a Democrat of Ohio, who is widely expected to enter the 2020 race, has declined to say whether he supports the proposal. You better. She has put everyone in a terrible position. She has no idea. Her pie in the sky dreams and her trying to be this radical, brave woman has really she is shot every single other Democrat in the foot because they don't know how to deal with this woman. Republicans control the Senate. Okay, the rest of this doesn't matter, I don't think. Yeah. So I really hope it goes for a vote. And one more time, I will be looking at that and I will let you know. But we did see, this is the last one that I'll go to. I love how Yahoo talks about this. So we saw that in the proposal, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was guaranteeing jobs for everyone. Well, she's from New York, so she knows how hard it must be to live in New York and how prices are high and all of this. AOC progressive groups succeed at kicking Amazon out of New York. So I love how Yahoo just trumpets this as a victory for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's progressive groups. So Amazon is backing out of the New York deal. They've said they are no longer going to build in New York. I'm guessing because of all of the pushback and how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying she needs to tax the rich. And she's been going out against Amazon because they haven't paid taxes, which personally I think all taxation is theft, so it doesn't really bug me. But basically New York was trying to make a deal with Amazon so that they would build their second headquarters, was I think the quote. They would build their second headquarters in New York, bringing about 20,000 jobs to New York. So right now, you have a real tangible deal for jobs to come to New York. And I understand that you want everybody to be taxed, and I get that. But there are real jobs on the table right now. And what do you and your people do? Poo-poo them and get rid of them. So right now, 20,000 people that could have been employed are now looking for jobs elsewhere, which I suppose when your Green New Deal passes, you're going to provide for them, right? From what? Amazon announced Thursday it's canceling its plan to build a headquarters in New York City. Give me 1 second. Pop, 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 pop. That's better. In New York City, delivering a victory to progressive groups and lawmakers such as AOC, who have fiercely opposed the project since it was first announced. The corporate giant chose the neighborhood of Long Island City in Queens to build its campus known as HQ2, but lawmakers, unions, local civil rights groups contended that tech corporations such as Amazon didn't deserve the nearly $3 billion in government incentives Governor Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Bill de Blasio had offered it, and that establishing the campus would accelerate gentrification in nearby neighborhoods and contribute to the displacement of New Yorkers in low-income communities. Or it could have gave some of them jobs. See, this is, on one hand, like, you can't be both. You can't say that nobody can have a car. You can't say that nobody can have nobody can have a gas car or a fuel, an internal combustion car, but then say, oh, but we're fighting for the poor people and we're fighting to stop gentrification. By the way, I don't think gentrification is a bad thing. Gentrification means progress, doesn't it? Doesn't it mean safer streets? Oh, but it means white people, which is awful. Yeah, we need to protect the brown people. We need to protect diversity and all that. Okay. Would accelerate gentrification in nearby neighborhoods and contribute to the displacement of New Yorkers in low-income communities. The campus would likely take up to 8 million square feet of office space, which could hold as many as 40,000 workers. The state and local government even sweetened the deal with offering a helicopter pad for Jeff Bezos to fly his lover around, Amazon CEO and the richest man in the world. Ocasio represents New York's 14th congressional districts, which includes the Bronx in Queens, Long Island City, and its surrounding neighborhoods. The progressive darling celebrated Thursday's decision with a tweet, "Anything is possible, unless you want to do it in my world." Today was the day a group of dedicated, everyday New Yorkers and their neighbors defeated Amazon's corporate greed, its worker exploitation, and the power of the richest man in the world. Meanwhile, both Amazon and local officials have favored creation of the campus, went back and forth blaming each other. In its statement announcing the decision to pull out of Long Island city plans, an Amazon spokesperson said a number of state and local politicians have made it clear that they oppose our presence and will not work with us to build the type of relationships that are required to go forward. But Mayor de Blasio accused the tech giant of throwing away the opportunity to make business in New York City. All right, the rest of it you guys can read at your leisure. But that's what you get. I think I'm gonna finish it there. I don't have much more in the news. I guess I should probably just mention this. So Trump, he signed a deal for like a very small portion of the border wall, and he has also at the same time declared a state of emergency, in which this is a move that I am actually very strongly against. I haven't looked so much into it. I've really just, the whole wall thing has me burnt out. The whole Trump thing has me really burnt out, and I'm exhausted by the wall. I don't think it's right. Well, he himself said that he didn't need to do this state of emergency, so that's not exactly a state of emergency then if you're saying you don't need to do it. So this whole thing is a fiasco and a circus. Like I said, I'm just so burnt out on it. I don't want to follow it and put my energy into it. Especially now that it's going to be taxed, huh? Yeah, I don't know. I'm wrapping it up there. Just remember that this climate change thing is nonsense. Be very weary of these politicians who claim to fight for the poor and claim to fight for the earth and they're going to save the planet. They're going to end up bankrupting you. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez's Green New Deal will absolutely bankrupt this country if even a quarter of it is implemented. And by the way, it's impossible. No matter what you do, you'll never get to net zero greenhouse gases, because even if you had all your stuff done, people are still going to burn fires. People are still going to have campfires. People are going to still have fireplaces, and they're going to still want to burn wood at some point. People are still going to have their gas cars unless you do what? Take them from them? Steal them from them? What's your end game? And that, I think I want to say. I want to just write that message at the end of this, and I want to say, every proposal that government does and everything that they say that they can do for you, they can only do with the tool that they have, and the tool that the government has is force. The only tool that the government has is a gun. And I know they put a couple things in between there, but at the end of the day, everything they propose is at the end of a gun. So anything that they pass, they get to enforce with the full force of the federal government. And I just hope that people be very, very careful when you give government power. But we're going to see what's going to happen. And we're going to see things get very shaken up. 2020 is right around the corner. And we're going to see what happens. And I cannot wait for this vote to happen and see which Democrats are actually brave enough to go on record and say that they stand behind this Green New Deal. But with all of that being said, I am Jason Gutierrez, and this was Inconsistency. And I hope that all of you have the best of days. I love you all. Have a great evening.